What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another NFL video. It is time for week number 10 here in the NFL. Got another great show I put together for you guys here today that I'm excited to get into, man. We got some player props that we're going to get into. We're also going to break down each of the games on the Sunday slate, give a quick analysis of those, and my favorite play from each of those games. But before we dive into all of that, we do got to jump over there to the Guy Boston Sports website. Now, week in and week out, that's where I put all of my final plays off of this Sunday slate. So make sure you check that out, guys. It's going to be down there in that pinned comment. You'll find the link that'll send you right over there. That's where all of those final plays are going to live for free. Now let's go ahead and jump over there and recap our plays from week number 9. Let's see what we put in then and how that all ended up going down. In week 9, we ended up putting in 10 plays overall. We go 6-4 on the day. So not the greatest day, but not the worst, obviously, right? We go up 0.84 units overall on the day. That puts us up just over 9 units on the season. 48, 30, and 2 overall. So like I said, not the worst week, right? But 6-4, we do look to do a little bit better here this week. But really happy with the facts that we are 9 weeks through the season now. Entering in the week 10, we've only had 2 weeks out of those 9 that we have not been profitable. So a lot of green on the board, man. Like I said, up over 9 units rolling into week number 10. Let's keep that good energy rolling right here into this video, man. Let's have ourselves another good week here in the NFL. Ain't nothing else to do from here but to jump right into the mix, man. Smash that like button down there for me if you can. Hit subscribe if you have not already. Guys, let's go ahead and dive into the prop playbook. And let's check out some player props for this week, man. Let's go ahead and jump over to Outliers so we can look at the first play that I'm looking at. It's going to be in the Falcons and the Colts game overseas, kicking off at 9:30 a.m. I'm looking at Jonathan Taylor, running back of the Colts. His rushing yards over 89.5. You get that at a good price right now, minus 125 over there at FanDuel. We look at him in his last 5 games, hitting at a 60% rate, right? Averaging 96 rushing yards per game. Coming off of a 45-yard rushing performance against the Steelers last week in Pittsburgh. We look at him on the year, right? We can see that's his lowest rushing output from the season so far. So a great spot for a bounce back for what's been, an MVP candidate throughout the season, right? Look at some of these games, man. 4 games over 100 yards and big yardage, right? 165, 123, 153. Good games here from Jonathan Taylor, obviously, on this year. Like I said, in the MVP conversation for a reason, averaging just under 100 yards rushing per game on the season. If we look at this insight from Outlier, this is super impressive right here, man. He's exceeded this number, this 89.5 rushing yards, in 4 of his last 5 games when facing bottom 10 defenses. He's averaging just under 134 yards rushing per game over the course of those games, right? Some big time performances here against some defenses that definitely struggle against the runs. If we keep on scrolling down, we can look at that rush attempt share for the Colts. Obviously, the workhorse over there for the Indianapolis Colts, man, sitting at 157 rushing attempts. That next closest running back is sitting at 18. 67% of the rushing attempts go to Jonathan Taylor. So obviously, he's going to get his touches here. He's going to get fed. And man, the Falcons have really struggled against running back position. Look at this on the season. Rushing yards versus Atlanta, that running back position specifically. Look at all those green checks. This is running backs that have gone up against the Falcons this season. Here is their line that they were given before the game, and this is them going up and over it every time we see a green check mark. Only one X on the board there, right? And that's a backup running back at that. So definitely impressive there. I guess unimpressive if you're looking at it from the Falcons standpoint, right? And if we scroll over here and look at the Falcons, rushing yards allowed sitting at 23rd. Against that running back position specifically, it doesn't get much better, sitting at 22nd. Now, Indy, they run out of a zone more than anything, right? Inside zone. They do that at the 5th highest frequency in the league. Atlanta, they're just middle of the pack at 15th defending against that inside zone. So all these things considered, man, have me loving this over 89.5 rushing yards right here for Jonathan Taylor. I think this is a great spot for him to bounce back, like I said, from that poor performance last week. Like I said, also the lowest rushing output of the season for him. So I like this spot for him to bounce back, take control of this game, especially overseas, man. You know what I mean? Unfamiliar environments for the Colts. I definitely, that offense has just been rolling this season, but I think they lead into the run game a little bit more this week. And I definitely love this one for our first play starting off our player props. Next play I'm looking at is going to be in that Lions and Commanders game kicking off at 4:25 p.m. I'm looking at Jahmyr Gibbs of the Lions to score a touchdown. Now, it is juiced sitting at minus 150, but I definitely like this one still. In 2025 alone, he's gone up and over this mark 5 out of 8 games, including a couple multi-score games as well. So a 63% rate on the year. If we look at him head-to-head against the Commanders, now last season he had a multi-score game back in January, and that was in a 14-point loss to the Commanders as well, right? I don't think that they have any struggles against this Washington team this week. We'll talk about that later on in the show. But I expect the Lions to roll here, man. And Gibbs is always a big part of that, right? You look at the last 14 games for him, he has found the end zone in 11 of those 14 games, 79% hit rate. And again, multiple games with multi scores. You got a four-score game up here, right? Yeah, I mean, he is definitely one of the targeted guys, especially when they get down into the red zone. We can look at that real quick. Let's go ahead and scroll on down. Look at red zone targets. Even among receivers, he is the third highest targeted player on this Detroit Lions team when they get down into the red zone. And then as far as red zone rushing attempts, even with David Montgomery back there in the backfield, he's still getting the bulk of the carries, 56% of those red zone rushing attempts. If you look at the Commanders right over here, let's scroll on down and look at their red zone efficiency. They're sitting at 26. They're 22nd for scoring, but over the last three games, they're giving up the second most points per game as well. So like I said, man, the Lions are huge favorites in this one, favorites of more than a touchdown. Gibbs is a huge part of what they do, especially once they get down in the red zone. So I definitely like our chances of him finding the end zone here in this one. And I think it's worth paying a little bit of juice for at that minus 150 mark. It's going to lead us right into the plus money cash out, which, guys, that did cash last week. I forgot to mention that when we did the recap. So told you guys we're gonna up the ante, give out $25 since we had been missing on the last few, plus money cash outs. We ended up cashing, man. We took T. Higgins for an anytime touchdown last week. Gets in the end zone multiple times, man. He's a beast at home and always finds his way into the end zone in these home games, man. So was a great look. It's through for us. Somebody's getting $25, man. Who's it gonna be? We're gonna scroll on down here and find a random person. Jay Fizzle, man, it's gonna be you, Jay Fizzle, my guy. Make sure you check over there on the website, man. Underneath the final plays, you'll see a link there, or just a contact information where you can get a hold of me in order to get that $25 sent your way. Now, not gonna keep it at $25, right? I upped the ante there last week, but we are gonna keep it at 20, man, for this week here. So how this works, man. We're gonna pick our favorite plus money play on the board. Let's play cashes. Whoever comments double up down below, you're going to be entered into the contest, man, and I'll pick one random winner down there to send $20 out to if this play does end up cashing, man. So make sure you comment double up down below because that's what we're trying to do with these plus money plays, right? We want to double up on our money, guys. So make sure you comment down below to enter into the contest. And let's go ahead and jump over to Outlier so we can see what play that we're going to be looking at here this week for the plus money cash out. I'm going to be looking at Kyron Williams of the Rams. This is that Rams and Niners game kicking off at 4:25 p.m. Looking at Kyron to get into the end zone one time for us. That's going to give us plus 100 odds. Now we can get crazy. This is what I'm going to be looking at for the plus money cash out, right? But as we get into this, you're going to see why this is not a bad look either. Looking at that over 1.5 for him to score two touchdowns at plus 700. It's a high risk, high reward option right here, man. But like I said, we're going to be looking at it for him just to score one time, which I really, really love, man. I can't believe this is at plus money, to be honest with you. He's hitting this at a 63% rate, 5 of the 8 games this season, right? If we look at him head to head against the Niners, 2 of those last 3 games, he's had multi-score games. A 2 touchdown game earlier this year and a 3 touchdown game just last season against these Niners as well. If we scroll on down and look at his rushing attempts, man, this is obviously the guy for LA, right? I mean, 132 rushing yards as compared to Blake Corum in that backup spot at only 54. 60% of the rushes are going Kyron Williams' way, and then in the red zone, sitting at 60% as well. So he's the guy, man, that if we get down there in the red zone, they're going to be looking his direction. He had 25 rushing attempts and 6 red zone rushing attempts last week alone. San Francisco just 22nd against the run DVOA as well. So I like this spot, man, for Kyron Williams in our plus money cash out just to score one touchdown. And like I said, man, if you want to get crazy, you want a high risk, high reward option, go ahead and look at him to score 2 touchdowns. That plus 700 odds, man, looking very nice. I might sprinkle on that one myself even. Now, guys, before we dive into our quick hits, break down this slate, we want to talk to you guys real quick about the Guy Boston Sports membership, man, that all sports membership access. Now, typically, this thing is going to cost you $10.99 a month, right? That's going to give you access to not only the NFL, but MLB and NBA as well. Right now, man, we got an offer code. You put in offer code TREY for your boy Trey. It's going to give you your first month for $4.99. It's a beautiful thing, man. We'll look at the football aspect of it real quick here, right? And just so many different ways to look at the games. And Ev put this together for us, guys, man. Just a wonderful tool that he spent a lot of time on preparing for it and tinkering with over the years as well, man. And the final result here is just beautiful, and it speaks for itself. It's so, so, so convenient, man. Just kind of puts everything into one spot for us. So enough rambling on. Let me tell you guys or show you guys a little bit about it, right? We start at the top here. We got a breakdown of the quarterbacks, how they look against zone defense, man defense versus pressure versus blitz. We scroll on down and we can see how those defenses are coming at you, right? Their frequency in the zone versus the man, how much they're, getting pressure on you, how much blitzing they're doing per game, right? We can see the frequency rank of all of those things. You scroll on down, you see how they're doing against the run, right? Each of these defenses, how they're faring against what each of these offenses are frequently doing as far as inside zone, outside zone, man duo. Just so many different ways to look at it. And we can see all of these aspects here, right? We break down all of these statistics by the season ranking, the home ranking or away ranking based off which side they're playing on, and then the last three games as well. Keep on scrolling. There's just more and more useful information, right? We got a matchup and analyzer down here with each of the players, the skill set players on each side and kind of how their matchup is looking versus that defense. And then right down here, we get the DVOA ranking. So, like I said, just so many different ways that we can look at these games, right? And it's got every single game on the slate, of course. But that's not it. Like I said, an NBA dashboard, an MLB dashboard as well. And that's what you're going to get access to when you sign up for the All Sports Dash. You get all three of these dashboards, like I said, for $10.99. But if you use that code Trey, it's going to give you that first month for $4.99. And just we get into the NBA, obviously look at, just so many different ways that we can look at the NBA games as well. I'm not going to dive into that right now with this being a football video, but just to give you an idea, right? Each of the games listed out. So definitely make sure you guys check that out, man. It's a great way to support the channel too. If you like what we're doing over here, man, you know what I mean? It gives you access to all the tools that we're using on a research on a daily basis, but also a great way to support the channel, man, and help us to continue to grow. And we appreciate all your love and support as always, man. So nothing else to do now but to dive into the Sunday slate, guys. It is time for our quick hits. That's where we break down each of the games on the Sunday slate. We give a quick analysis of each of those games, and then I tell you guys my favorite play from each of them as well. So let's go ahead and dive into the mix. That first game we're going to be looking at, that 9:30 a.m. game kicking off overseas. I'm looking at the Atlanta Falcons and the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Colts, they suffered just their second loss of the year last week in Pittsburgh, and they sit in a three-way tie now for first place in a wide open AFC, man, with the Patriots and the Broncos. Well, I guess the Broncos are now, half a game up now that we're looking at, right, with their win on Thursday night. Now, overseas, they'll match up with an Atlanta team, like I said, that's been pretty inconsistent this season, sitting at 3-5, and they're coming in on a three-game losing streak. So this feels like a good bounce back spot for the Colts, in my opinion, man. Their offense has been ranked in the top of the league all season long. Colts are first DVOA offensively. They're fifth in the pass, second in the run game. And while Atlanta has been decent defending against the pass, fifth DVOA defensively, they sit at just 24th against the run, 26 for rushing yards allowed per game over their last three games. And now we enter in Jonathan Taylor and company in a game in which he comes off just 45 yards rushing, like we talked about earlier, his lowest output of the season, but averaging 107 on the year, man. So because they have just been too inconsistent. The Colts have really been good on both sides of the ball. So I got to roll with Indianapolis here in this one, man. Give me the Colts laying the points. And that's going to move us into our 1 p.m. games. Looking at the Jaguars and the Texans. First off, Houston, they lost two of their last three coming into this one, but these were close one possession losses to good teams in the Broncos and the Seahawks. That one in Seattle. Now, their defense has been absolutely elite this season, man. First for points allowed at just 15 points per game, fourth for passing yards allowed, sixth for rushing yards allowed, and they sit at first DVOA defensively as well. The Jags have also lost two of their last three after starting out the year 4-1. Losses to the Rams and Seahawks are excusable end of the day, but they have played down to competition, man. They've been inconsistent all season with losses to the Bengals earlier this year. That was the game that Burrow went down and Browning took over. Yes, the Jake Browning that stunk up the league for a few weeks, and then last week they won by just one over the lowly Raiders. The problem here with looking towards the Houston side is the status of C.J. Stroud, who is listed as questionable currently with a concussion. It's not likely that he's going to play in this one, in my opinion, man. This Texas offense has already had its struggles. They managed just 15 points with no touchdowns last week. Now, that's a good Denver defense. Don't get it twisted, but still, man, they haven't really shown me a lot to have any kind of confidence in the offensive side of things for Houston. I don't trust the Jags though either, man, with their inconsistency. So I'll look towards the total. 38. I think I've seen a 37.5 even. That's sitting pretty low, but I'd want to look towards an under here, if anything, in this game, man. The thing with that, though, is that we got a question if Houston's offense will be able to keep the defense off the field enough to keep them from getting gas in the second half. So, with that in mind, I'll look towards the first half total and look at the under for the first half here in this one. I think we can get that at 19.5 right now. That'll take us into our next game. Looking at the Baltimore Ravens, Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Now, both these teams, they returned starting quarterbacks to the lineup last week. Both returned to the win column as well, but one side has been consistently inconsistent this season, while the other looks like they're about to go on a run. Now, Minnesota, they're 4-4 on the year, just 1-2 at home so far, with their one win coming over a reeling Bengals team that was playing their first game without Burrow starting under center. And I'm not ready to buy back into this Minnesota team, man, based off the return of J.J. McCarthy. When sure they got the win, but he only threw for 143 yards with 2 touchdowns and also an interception in the mix as well. So not horrible, no, but I think the defense, specifically that run defense, is what's to credit most for that upset in Detroit last week. And also, that Lions and Vikings game last week was a divisional matchup, and I'm going to continue to preach that all season until the end of time with football, man, with the NFL. Anything can happen on any given Sunday, and this rings so much louder and true between these divisional opponents, man. You can have a team come in 1-15 up against a 15-1 team. Man, all things are up in the air when it's those divisional matchups, man. They just know each other. They play each other 2 times a year, every single year. They know the coaching staffs, they know the schemes. There's a lot more advantages there when playing against each other. Now, the Ravens, meanwhile, they saw Lamar return to the field and throw for over 200 yards on 18 of 23 passing for 4 touchdowns and no picks, man. As a Bengals fan, it's hard to say, but I'll just be completely real with you guys. I love Lamar Jackson. I love watching him play for Baltimore, man. I haven't gone to a lot of the games this year here in Cincinnati because it's been just downright depressing, but it's funny. I will go to the Ravens game, and if they come in there and they just smoke the Bengals, it's okay, man. I got to watch Lamar. Like, he's really, really fun and exciting to watch. He was on full display again last week in his return. Now, Baltimore, they had a rough start to the year, man, working through his injury. Injuries on the defensive side as well, but they've returned players on that side also. They've given up just 17 points, 16 points, and 6 points over their last 3 games now coming into this one. You look at Baltimore, man, despite starting the season just 1-5, they are only 2 games back from the Steelers in the AFC North with plenty of games to play, with both games against the Steelers still remaining on their schedule. And they've also gone 1-0 in the division to start off the season so far, right? So that's going to help them as the year goes on, obviously. And they're in prime position to make a run for the division here, man. And I think that they take care of business here to get their third straight win. And I do truly think that we see them just take off and keep stacking up the dubs from here. You look at the remaining schedule after Minnesota, we got the Browns, the Jets, the Bengals, Pittsburgh, the Bengals again, a good Patriots team, a good Packers team, and then the Steelers again. These are a lot of winnable games, man. A lot of winnable games. So if you're the rest of the league, yikes, here come the Ravens. Next up, going to be looking at the Browns and the Jets. Now, this is an ugly one, man, with the Jets coming off that bye week that they headed into, fresh off of a 1 point wild come from behind win over the spiraling Bengals. I feel like I have mentioned the Bengals multiple times in a very negative way. But that was the first win of the season for New York, right? The Browns come in sitting at 2-7, having lost by 19 points last week, giving up 32 to the Patriots last week in Foxborough. New York made waves at the trade deadline, man. They shipped out their top 2 defensive talents in Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. They opened up as favorites here, but that line flipped after that trade news broke out. It's not sure that I want to look at the side here still, right? Sure, the Jets defense is atrocious, but so is this Browns offense. End of the day, man. Cleveland should be able to make some things happen on the ground here. And this does look like a decent spot for Quinshon Judkins, that rookie for Cleveland that has just been tearing it up. This Jets run defense sits at just 26 for yards per game, 22nd for yards per carry. But still, as a whole, man, even though this Jets passing defense is sitting at 31st DVOA, the Browns are dead last at 32nd for passing offense DVOA. So if they can't get anything going through the air, the run game isn't going to be all that effective end of the day. And I understand that the Jets offense finally showed some life, before the bye, and they put up 39 points. Also understand that that was against a historically bad Cincinnati Bengals defense. So I think end of the day, man, if I had to pick a side in this one, I'd roll with Cleveland, but I think looking at the under is a better way to go about this game here. This is just they're really bad offenses, 2 really bad offenses here in this game, man. And Browns defense, although it does take a dip on the road, it's still a tough unit. They sit at 6 for total defensive DVOA on the year, first against the run, which, like the Browns, the Jets have found more success on the ground offensively than through the air. I almost think looking at the first half under in this one as well is the best move, though. No matter what, I don't expect fireworks from these offenses right off the rip. I'd be surprised to see anything less than a sloppy, low scoring contest, at least to start us off. So give me that first half under looking at this game. Next up, looking at the Buffalo Bills taking on the Miami Dolphins. Buffalo, man, they've owned this matchup in recent years, winning 7 in a row over Miami, but the Dolphins have covered in 5 of the last 8 head to heads between these two, including the last 2 that they were made double digit dogs in. And they've been an absolute mess this year, right? Miami has. And Buffalo has been on a tear since the bye, but tread carefully, man. This is another divisional game, and Miami is home for this one as well. So I don't know, man. It's always hard to look to fade Buffalo, right? Especially when they're rolling the way they are right now. And I don't think that they lose here whatsoever. Don't get me wrong. I'm just hesitant to fully back the idea of them covering in this spot, man. With that said, though, while their defense has struggled stopping the run, sitting at just 28th for rushing yards allowed per game, they are second defending the pass and giving up the ninth fewest points per game on the year. Then looking at them strictly on the road, they jump to first in both passing yards allowed and points per game given up. So I'd have to lean with Buffalo here. I'm just not sure I want to look at them laying the points, man. This may be a Buffalo team total look instead, right? We've done that a few times with the Bills. I don't like laying those large spreads with Buffalo, man. I do think that they get some points up here, man. It's just a matter of can that run defense hold up, and does that stellar pass defense continue to bring it like they have, and can they force Tua into some mistakes like has been the case for much of the season so far? So give me a Buffalo Bills team total over looking at this one. The next up, we'll be looking at the New England Patriots taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This could be a good game, man. New England, they've been really impressive this year, right? At this point in the year, you got to call it for what it is, man. This is a damn good football team. Six straight wins now after a 1-2 start. That has them sitting in a three-way tie for first in the entire AFC conference. Drake May, man, playing phenomenal ball. The defense sits at fifth for points allowed per game, first for rushing yards allowed per game. But Tampa, they've been a force themselves there over in the NFC, right? Sitting at 6-2. Baker Mayfield has played lights out himself, and they bring a defense on the field that can stop the run and the pass, right? Seventh DVOA against the pass, fifth against the run, seventh overall total defensive DVOA. Baker, he plays better throwing against zone coverage as opposed to man, and the Patriots tend to play more zone overall. New England is struggling getting pressure on the quarterback as well. So despite the injuries to some of his skill players, I do think Baker can put some numbers up here in this one. It's just one of those spots, man, where, as good as this Patriots team has been, man, and don't get it wrong. Like I said, man, I do think this is a really good team. They got to come back to earth a little bit at some point, right? On the road here in Tampa Bay, man, I think this might be it. I think they're a great team that can make some noise in the playoffs this year. Like I said, don't get me wrong. I like this Patriots team, but I don't think they win out from here. You know what I mean? They're going to lose at some point. They're also undefeated on the road to this point as well. This just looks like a spot that the Bucks at home, fresh off of a bye, can have some success both moving the ball and defensively slowing down what's been an explosive New England attack to this point. So give me the Bucks on the side here in this one. Next up, we got another ugly one, man. New Orleans Saints taking on the Carolina Panthers. Now, this is one that I won't really have much interest on the side. Carolina sits at 5-4, and every time I want to count them out, they come away with an impressive win. I got to give it to them, man. They took down Green Bay last week on the road. They have won 5 of their last 7 games now. Saints, meanwhile, they've just been a mess all season, right? They sit at 1-8. They've lost each of their games on the road this year by at least 12 points. But I'm not sure that I want to back the Panthers to follow suit with that trend. I think that they're favored by just 4.5 points here for a reason, right? The Saints' prior 4 road games haven't come against any easy opponents by any means, man. They've drawn the Seahawks, the Bills, the Bears, and the Rams, right? So no wonder they're losing by 12 or more, man. They suck. Those are some really good teams. Carolina, they sit at ninth DVOA in the run, just 30th passing. But the Saints aren't horrible, man, defending the run. That's the one area that they are decent in. They're sitting at 13th DVOA. So I do think we see some points between these two. It feels like it's going to be a closer divisional game, right? And kind of get a feeling that it just goes back and forth until the end and somebody pulls it out with like a last second field goal, something to that degree. So I think I like looking at the total in this game. We can see these two head to head. Last season, they went up and over this mark. Both their matches, right, landing at 45 and 57. So well up and over that 38.5 point mark that we're sitting at right here for plus money, might I mention. Plus money over there at No Big and Caesars. Now, if we look at them on the year, let's look at the Saints on the road. They've gone up and over that mark at a 100% hit rate in all 4 of their road games. And then the Panthers at home, we see them going up and over this mark at a 75% hit rate. 3 of the 4, including 3 in a row coming into this one. And then that insight from Outlier, we can see up here, the over has hit in 17 of the Panthers' last 24 games overall, 71% hit rate over the course of 24 games, right? So I definitely like this look here, man. I think this is the way that I want to go about this game if I'm going to play anything in this one. Looking at that over 38.5, you can get that at plus money, like I said. Or if you want to, just get a little bit more insurance and get another point on the board, right? 37.5, sitting at minus 116. So still good odds there as well. Now to be looking at the New York Giants taking on the Chicago Bears. Now these two are two teams trending in opposite directions, man, with the Giants having lost 3 straight games after beating the Eagles in prime time a few weeks ago. The Bears, on the other hand, they've won 5 of their last 6 games now. Coach Ben Johnson, man, he's been super creative with the offense, and they showed their resiliency last week after almost giving up a multi-score lead with just a few minutes to play. Where Chicago could really hurt New York is on the ground, man. They come in 8th DVOA in the run, averaging the 5th most rushing yards per carry and the 2nd most rushing yards overall per game. The Giants, meanwhile, they've given up the second most rushing yards per game this year. The most rushing yards per carry, they sit dead last for defending the run DVOA. So I'm going to lean with Chicago here on the side, but it might be a spot that I would look at a team total over as well here, man. We can get the Bears at 24.5 right now, and they've hit over that mark in 5 of their last 6 games. They're averaging just under 28 points per game over their last 5. They sit at 6 on the year for points per game, fourth over their last 3 games. The Giants, they're giving up the fifth most points per game on the year and the third most over their last 3. So, like I said, man, leaning Chicago on the side, but we might just look at their team total over if we play anything in this one. That's going to take me into the 4 p.m. games, starting off with the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks. Man, the Seahawks, they've quietly been one of the best teams in the NFL this season, right? You don't hear a lot about them, but they just keep chugging along over there in the NFC, and the numbers show it, man. Fourth offensively, DVOA. Second defensively, they're sitting at first total overall for DVOA, man, in the entire NFL. Look at Arizona on their end, man. They finally ended a 5-game losing streak, but they're going to come into this one starting backup quarterback Jacoby Brissett. Man, he's going to get a Seattle defense that is third for pressure frequency, second for hurries, and third for hits and sacks in this start here. So not a good look for Brissett at all, man. Arizona, they've been ineffective as it is already offensively. 20th for both passing and rushing yards per game, 23rd for total offensive DVOA. Also just 2-6 straight up in their last 8 road games. So give me Seattle at home here on the side. We're going to be looking at the Los Angeles Rams taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the Rams, they've won 3 games in a row by at least 14 points, and they have a revenge factor in play here, man, after suffering a weird loss in week 5 to these 49ers. I don't mind looking at them on the spread, man, and I don't mind looking at the total in this one either, right? 49 feels a little high. Now, when you consider that neither of these teams have consistently got up and over this mark on the year at all, right? If you look at the Rams, 2025 alone this season, they've gone under this mark at a 75% rate. And we look at the Niners, they've gone under this mark at an 89% rate. Look at the Niners at home, 100% of the time in those 3 home games, they've gone underneath of this mark. San Francisco stays fighting through the injuries, man, but I like the Rams to pull out the win here in a lower scoring game. So lean Rams on the side, lean towards the under in this one as well. We're going to be looking at the Detroit Lions taking on the Washington Commanders. Now, 7.5 points, man, doesn't feel like enough here with the Lions in a bounce back spot, having, not only lost last week, but also in 2 of their last 3 games now. Washington's down Jaden Daniels after that brutal injury last week, man. Man, prayers up for Daniels, man. That was rough. But this feels like a spot that Detroit just rolls in, right? They've struggled offensively over their last 3 games. 15th for passing yards per game, 17th for rushing yards, averaging just under 22 points per game over those last 3. That's good for only 18th. I mean, come on now, man. We all know what this Lions offense can do, right? We know that they come in ranked 8th for DVOA at the end of the day for a reason, man. This is a good offensive team. And this Commanders defense sits at just 22nd DVOA defensively. They've given up a ton of yards through the air as well, man. The 4th most in the league. They sit at just 22nd for rushing yards allowed per game as well. Detroit, meanwhile, they got a pretty underrated defense themselves. They come in at 3rd DVOA, 8th defending the run, 2nd against the pass. I like Detroit, man, here laying the points, even though they burned me last week laying a little over a touchdown with them. But with that in mind as well, teams that have lost after being made a favorite by a touchdown or more, they've covered in their next game at just under a 59% rate since 2015. 22-13 against the spread in that scenario over their last 3 seasons alone. So give me the Lions here on the side in this one. And that's going to take us into our Sunday night football matchup. Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, this one feels tricky to me, man. I see a lot of talking heads on Pittsburgh after the win over the Colts last week, and they did knock off these Chargers just last season by a score of 20-10. Aaron Rodgers does play significantly better versus zone over man. The Chargers play man at the 3rd lowest frequency, zone at the 2nd highest. The Chargers have been pretty stout defending the pass, though, sitting at 3rd for passing yards allowed. This one is just a feeling thing for me, man, end of the day. But I've seen this story with Tomlin-led Steeler teams many times, right? They'll get these good, impressive wins, mid-season over a tough opponent, and it looks like it's going to catapult them towards the top, right, into contender status. And then they usually follow that up with a letdown, man. So I don't know. Still looking at Tomlin's record as a dog is impressive in itself. And Pittsburgh has a defense that can generate pressure and frustrate the likes of Justin Herbert, just like they did last week with Daniel Jones. I just can't get there with Pittsburgh, man, this week. My gut says LA, so I'm going to be leaning that way. But this is one that I'll probably just stay off at the end of the day. And guys, that is going to wrap it up for another episode, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I hope you found the content helpful and useful. If you did, please don't forget to smash that like button on your way out. Hit subscribe if you have not already. And that is going to wrap it up, man. I hope you guys all cash out. I hope you guys all have yourselves a great week 10. I'm going to see you back for week number 11 next week.